You must have seen people using UI UX designer on their resumes and just showing them off. But have you really wondered what does that actually mean? Well, after this video, you will know all about it. Hello people, welcome to the Design and Tech Show. This is Shazib Kazmi, your host, and today we'll be talking about how UI is different than UX and what sort of people should pursue UI and what sort of people should pursue UX. Let me just tell you that UI and UX are two separate branches of the design domain. So UI meaning user interface and UX meaning user experience are two different aspects of the design domain, but they work relatively closely. That's why many people tend to confuse between them and conflate the two terms, but they are very different. So we'll start by dissecting the word UI, the term UI, and what does that mean. So UI, it's a very elegant abbreviation, let me first say that, but UI means user interface. So user and interface. Now user is any entity who is interacting with the product. It can be me, it can be you. Ironically, we both are users right now. So I'm using this laptop, I am using this camera, I'm using my chair, my table. So I am a user, and you are a user as well, because you are either watching this video on your laptop, on your computer. So you are also a user. So that's a user, an entity who is interacting with the product. And now the interface. Now interface is a very general term. The interface actually is the way a user accesses the content. So right now this is the content and you are the user, but how are you accessing to this content? So if you are watching this video through your mobile phone using the YouTube platform, so your interface, your medium is your computer or your laptop, because that is the way you are accessing this content, my content. So an interface is the medium or the way a user accesses the content. And an interface can also be termed as a passive bridge between the user and the content, because this is how a user is connected with the content, is through the interface, and that bridge actually influences your experience, like you watching this video on your laptop as compared to your mobile phone, which is a smaller screen. So these two experiences would be different. And nowadays the most common interface for everybody is the screen. We have it on our computers, we have it on our mobile phones. So we consume life through screens. So the screen is the ultimate interface. To have that idea really clearly about this entire UI thing, let me give you an example of a book. So a book is a very apt example of an interface. How? Well, the pages in that book contain the content. So that is the content, and the reader is the user. So how a reader is getting to that content? Well, he is or she is reading from that book. So that book is actually the interface, because it is acting as a bridge between us and that content. So a book is an interface. So as you can see, an interface is not just a tech term. It can apply to all the things in your life which include a user interacting with them. That was all about user and interface and what is a user interface. And so just to summarize it up, a user interface is a bridge between user and the content. And this entire system of users, the interface, the content, this collectively is called as a user interface. After all this chit chat, you must be wondering, like, if UI and UX are if UI influences the UX, then why are they not the same thing? Well, that is a very keen observation. Let me just tell you that. Very good job. But they are very different, because if you really dissect into them, then UI is how the product feels, how the product looks, the aesthetics, the color, the typography, that is all in the UI part. However, the UX deals with more of a non-visual aspect of design, in which they cater about how the user feels and how the user perceives that product, how his experience is, what are his challenges, and how we can solve those challenges using UI. So UX is sort of a prologue to the UI. Like you have to conduct like you have to have UX before UI if you want to build and design a product which would be truly beneficial and impactful for the users. So UI and UX are two different things. UI deals more of a visual part of things, like a UI designer is mostly a graphic designer, like working with different tools like Figma, Adobe XD, Illustrator, Photoshop, these sort of things. Like this is how a UI designer operates in the visual aspect of things. Whereas the UX designer's job is more of a user driven research. Like he or she is working closely with users, carrying feedback, surveys, user stories, user journey maps, all of the research part, and they are really trying to find user challenges and trying to solve them using design principles, which we'll be talking about in later videos. So this is how a UI designer works. It's more of a research based job and it's user driven. However, the UI designer's job is more of a graphic visual sort of thing, and it's more of a design driven, aesthetics driven, if you can. So these are the two differences between the UI designer and UX designer. UI designer can be experienced in UX a bit, and a UX designer can be experienced in UI a bit, but it's not common that a person can be really good in both of them at an early age. Like of course after 10 years, after 20 years, a person will have sufficient experience to write UI UX design, and he or she can be good at both. But if he is young or like in its 18 or 20s, that's very rare because you don't have that much experience, right? UI designer is more of a graphic person. A UX designer is more of a research person. So now you have both of them in front of you. Which one talks to you more? To choose that, you will be happy in life. And I think this was all for this video, and I truly hope that you are now able to distinguish between UI designer and UX designer and can elaborate on the UI and UX, how they are different, what do they consist of. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it helped, and do stay tuned because I'll be posting a lot about design and tech on this channel, because this is the Design and Tech Show and this is your host Shazib Kazmi. I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you.